Africa. Now, the other big issue to be discussed at this conference is, of course, the question of infrastructure, but also the question of energy. And of course, we know that energy is both central in terms of rolling out that infrastructure, but it's also a big crisis and presents several challenges for rapid economic growth. Joining us now here on Beyond Markets is Judy Nwokedi. She's the chairperson of Global Business Connect, which is an important forum where leading business women come together to tackle very serious questions in developing countries. Judy, thank you so much for joining us here on Beyond Markets.
Thank you. Good evening.
Now, Judy, of course, the big question is energy centrality to this, infrastructure rollout plan, and a lot of the economic activity that is going to dominate discussions here. Take us through, some of the kind of interesting developments in terms of investment that's been happening between BRICS countries and particularly on the African continent.
Certainly, but firstly I'd like to say that the story that underpins what is happening here in BRICS at the moment is absolutely captivating. Never before, for more than half a century, has Africa been in a better place to unlock and partner with these major emerging economies. But central to that partnership is the need for energy to drive infrastructure rollout. If we talk about growing the industrial base and the manufacturing base in South Africa and across Africa, then we cannot do that without stable, secure, sustainable and safe energy. And so what we find is a complete misrepresentation across the continent. South Africa's generating capacity, our 40,000 megawatts, is more than the sum total of what the rest of Africa generates. So therein lies the opportunity and the challenge, because as we want to build our energy infrastructure to drive other parts of the infrastructure dimension, then both we partner with the BRICS countries and we then become a major driver. Sorry?
Now, what I wanted to ask, Judy, is, of course, energy is also exciting in terms of investment, a lot of opportunities. We've seen the gas finds off the coast of Mozambique. We've seen a lot of excitement in the market. What kind of challenges do business people and players in the energy sector face when having to kind of put together the kind of consortia that would have to invest in these countries? And how does, the playing field get leveled in a sense through your DFIs, through your partnerships that get set up?
Well, I think the challenges that you allude to are at a number of levels. It's how do you capitalize it? So the corporate financing, the transactional financing, just who raises the money. And then, of course, once the money is raised and put on the table in South Africa, who then pays for it? And when the time comes for the African consumer to pay, what is the dividend and what is the commensurate increase? So that is the challenge. And if you then backtrack that slightly in terms of the policy that underpins Africa when it comes to energy, that then becomes a major challenge. And that, I think, is also very exciting, because across the continent we're beginning to put in place the right energy regulations and the right energy policies, because if we don't do that, then these other countries who have the technology, they have the capability and they have the ability to finance it, can really ride roughshod over us. So we are working furiously to get our integrated energy plans in place, to execute against those energy plans, and then of course we can strike equal partnerships with the other 4 major countries.
Now, one of the areas of expertise that you have, of course, is in the field of nuclear energy and nuclear power. For some, a controversial, issue, given the kind of risk that a lot of people assume goes with nuclear energy. Judy, what is it that players in the nuclear energy field will be looking for at this BRICS summit, and how does it fit into the kind of place that nuclear energy is occupying in terms of the overall energy, layout, in terms of what is happening in places like South Africa, but also on the rest of the continent?
So in Africa, South Africa is the only country that has a nuclear capability. We built our nuclear facility in the late 70s, so we are a leader. The rest of Africa, of course, has the source that burns within a nuclear energy plant or within the nuclear island, and that is uranium. So you find Western Africa, West Africa, North Africa, rich in abundance of when it comes to uranium. Of course, the big question is who is going to beneficiate that uranium. So there is a different debate that's happening globally around which countries are able to enrich uranium to then drive your nuclear energy industry. Many parts of Africa has indicated an interest in nuclear simply because nuclear, in terms of the cost ratio across all your energy sources, nuclear is the cheapest. Nuclear also raises the bar in terms of catapults a country into a highly industrialized zone. So when you look at Japan, China, South Korea, France, these are strong nuclear countries. They are major industrial players, something Africa needs to do and a space where Africa needs to play. The two major nuclear powers who are here is Russia and China. We have a treaty with Russia in terms of radiation, nuclear safety. We have engineers currently training in Russia, so much excitement for us in the nuclear space when it comes to our bilateral dialogues with Russia. China too is a major force when it comes to nuclear, building state-of-the-art, the most modern reactors. So we are also looking forward to the dialogues with our Chinese counterparts to then also move nuclear into a space where people do not respond to nuclear so emotionally, where we can assure everyone across the world, and more importantly in Africa, that nuclear is a safe source of energy.